Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head down to Aycliffe once again, which is of course home to the Steam Machine Brewing Company, and I think this is review number 5 or 6 that I've done on the channel for these guys. I want to say it's number 5, but we're going to return to the dark end of the scale this time, and we're doing the last of the 3 cans that they released in April of 2018. So we're going to have a taste of the Coconut Chocolate Porter today. This one comes in at 7.3% and it should be really nice. I mean, the first beer that I ever tried from these guys was called the Treacle Toffee Stout, or Toffee Treacle Stout. I can't remember which way around the name goes, but that was a really bloody good beer, to be quite honest. And that was one of the things I felt about this brewery. I thought they were maybe going to have a niche for doing really well when it comes to dark beers, but the Peach Haze IPA and the New England Session IPA that they've done recently have really kind of stepped up. It's really kind of shown that they've stepped up their gear when it comes to the lighter styles of things, actually. So I think they've got a very bright future ahead of them, and I do look forward to trying more beers from them at some point in the future. But definitely looking forward to this one, and as always, I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, of course, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Steam Machine Brewing Company before. No doubt I will do some more in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the English beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Steam Machine Brewing Company first off then. So Steam Machine Brewery, as I've told you before, are based in Aycliffe, just to the southwest of Durham itself, and they were founded back in 2015 by Nick and Gulen Smith, husband and wife of course. But they started the company up with a small business loan after the return from the Channel Islands, where Nick had been working as a science teacher. And the brewery itself is apparently an old wartime munitions factory, and this is where they also have the brew room, and people can come in and actually try the beers and try some different food as well. I've been watching on their Facebook page, and some of the food that they do at the brewery looks really good. But over the last few years they've been gradually expanding, and they also received mentoring from Richard Branson after Nick shared a train journey with him from London. So they've been doing really well in recent times. They have been expanding their capacity a little bit. They had a pop-up bar in Durham for a little while, and Nick did tell me that one of their kind of longer term goals is to actually have a permanent bar in Durham, like a kind of craft beer bar, because that's one thing that's really lacking. I mean, we do have Steam Machine and there's the Station House, but we don't have a sort of brew pub type thing, so that would be really cool to see from Steam Machine. And of course they'll probably bring in some of the other local breweries and things like that as well. But a really interesting company. Gulen and Nick are like really nice people. Nick was really enthusiastic about the videos that I've made for them before, so you know, the best of luck to them. Gulen of course is from Turkey as well. She's pregnant at the moment. Maybe by the time this video happens she'll have given birth, so good luck to the pair of them for that. But very nice people. They're producing some really good beers, so if you do get the chance to try some of the Steam Machine stuff, I highly recommend that you do. So that's all you really need to know about the company just now. As I say, follow them on Facebook and have a look at their website if you want to learn more, and they'll be releasing new beers soon, I'm sure. So yeah, let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer itself. So like I mentioned to you, this one is a 7.3% porter. That's kind of getting on to the edge of where it could be an imperial porter. I'm sure it's around, I always say around 8%. Anything above 8% is when you start to get into the imperial category. But there you can see, nicely presented. I really like the style of artwork. I don't even know. Peter over at the Clueless Drinker is probably the best one to describe these different styles of artwork. I can just really appreciate something if it's pretty, to be honest. I'm quite artistically illiterate in that way. When it comes to music, brilliant, but when it comes to just art designs and things, completely illiterate. But for this one, I would say on the back here it says, a beautiful porter with a hint of tropical fruit and cocoa on the nose, followed by dark chocolate and roast malts and toasted coconut on the palate with a rich velvety finish. So yeah, it tells you there, that's all the kind of things. It says 2.4 UK units, has the whole thing about recycling the can and all of that. But yeah, nicely presented, 7.3%. So without further ado, let's get it out and we'll get on with the taste. And as I say, looking forward to this one because I've always or so far at least, I felt that Steam Machine really excelled when it comes to dark beers. So looking forward to this. It had a 3.9 on Untappd when I checked out earlier. There wasn't a rating on Rate Beer yet, probably just because this beer's only been out about 2 or 3 weeks by the time I'm filming this. Incidentally, I'm filming this beer review on the 2nd of May, but you guys will probably see it, you know, towards the end of May, I would think, because I still have the Peach Haze one at this point in time, hasn't actually published yet, but by the time you'll be watching this video it will have. But yeah, as you can see and as you would expect from a porter, it's poured a nice dark ebony rosewood colour. There's a solid finger of a frothy head on this one. I would say that's a kind of, yeah, sort of medium tan head. I think that's a fair way to describe it. A solid, yeah, about 2/3 of a finger, 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and quite a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But overall, you know, it looks like a really quite nice beer. So let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on. Yeah, so with this one, there's a nice sort of roasty black malt backbone in there. There's a little bit of a kind of grainy character to it as well, I would say. Definitely some chocolate, a little bit of brown sugar as well, but not too much in the way of that. It is more of a kind of roasty black malt backbone in the chocolate. And you can smell, you can get a little bit of the coconut, but in terms of the aroma, the coconut, you have to sugar it up a little bit more to get the coconut out of it. Yeah, when you sugar the beer up a little bit, that's when you start to get the coconut out of it. If you let it settle, you're not going to get very much of it at all. It kind of, in a way, the beer, when you sugar it up, it reminds me of these Bounty bars. I'm not sure what countries you get them in, so if you're watching abroad, you might not know exactly what that is, but the Bounty chocolate bars, I'm sure in Europe, in Germany and things like that, I have seen them, but these Bounty chocolate bars, it does remind me a little bit of that. I have to admit, I always enjoyed a bit of coconut milk. I never liked the flavour of coconut that much, but I did always enjoy a bit of coconut milk rather than actually eating the bits of coconut itself. But yeah, the aroma of this one really reminds me of Bounty. There's definitely a little bit of brown sugar in there. And there's a wee bit, I can understand where they're getting that little bit of tropical fruit from, but for me, I would say that the fruity character that comes out of this to me is a little bit more of a red fruit. It's a little bit more figgy, but it maybe has a little touch of a kind of raisiny sharpness. To me, that's more of a red fruit that comes out of this one than tropical fruit, to be honest, but I can understand why they would put that on the can. But yeah, to me it's a sort of jammy, figgy kind of red fruity character that comes out of this beer. But you know, overall, it does smell pretty nice. Yeah, so as I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of it before you get stuck in, because this is quite an interesting one. This is a little bit more complex, I think, than the Treacle Toffee Stout. The Treacle Toffee Stout, from what I remember, was actually quite mild in the aroma, and it was only really in the flavour that you started to get all these kind of complex notes out of it. But as I've always said, Steam Machine are pretty damn good when it comes to the dark side of things. So do have a little look at that, the dark side of beers, of course. But yeah, take a little bit of time, as I always say, and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck in. But let's have a go at this one now. So this one is the Coconut Chocolate Porter at 7.3% from Steam Machine Brewery in Newton Aycliffe, County Durham in England. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål. Yeah. I have to say, that is pretty nice. You know, the mouthfeel of this one, I think I commented on their last 2 beers that I had, that the beers had this, that the water had an almost bit of a, it almost had a kind of mineral water quality to it. And in this beer, you do get the same, but it really, you know, it does add to that kind of, that kind of really smooth mouthfeel that this beer has actually. And the thing I'll say about this is that the roasty, bitter qualities that you expect of the porter, they start to push their way out a little bit more as the flavour just kind of mellows out. But that's a good porter, I will say that. Yeah, I like that. I mean, it's definitely a different kettle of fish from the Treacle Toffee Stout. It's, you know, this one, the one thing I would say about this is it's hard to believe that it's 7.3% because it's actually, it's really drinkable. See, with cask conditioning, I mean, on the channel before, I've always said I'm not a great fan of cask conditioning. this beer would really suit the cask condition. It's nice enough out the can, don't get me wrong on that, but this is a beer that would really suit having that just being slightly warmer and having that kind of slightly thicker cask conditioning to it. But I've always said that about English beers. When it comes to the traditional English styles of beers, it's always been the milds, the stouts, the brown ales and things that I've liked. It's the golden ales and stuff, and the bitters that I haven't been such a great fan of. But this is definitely a beer that would really suit cask conditioning in my mind. Yeah, that's nice. I mean, as I said, these guys have got a bit of a niche for doing for the dark beers, I think. But as I said though, their lighter beers, the light styles have gone up a gear in recent times, I would say. But that's a nice beer. This one was actually introduced, I think, back in 2017. It was part of a, from what I read about it, they did it for the Camera Festival in Darlington, and it won the festival. And you know, you can see why with this. It's a really nice, easy drinking beer, this one. And it does, in some ways, it fits into that old kind of, it does fit into that English traditional category a little bit more than it does the more kind of modern American craft, I think. It's almost somewhere in between at the same time. You could easily pass this beer off as a kind of traditional English ale, but at the same time it is starting to border on these kind of New World American type things. I mean, the traditional English ones would be down at like 4%. This one's up at 7.3%. So, you know, bear that in mind with it. But the main thing to take away is that it's a nice beer. So yeah, middle of the palate with this one then. It's really, really smooth, this beer. That's the first thing you're going to notice about it. You can feel there's a little bit of that roasted black malt backbone in there. There's definitely some nice kind of smooth chocolate. For me, the chocolate, it has a little bit of a milky chocolate element to it, but at the same time there's little elements of that kind of higher cocoa things. If you move towards the front of the tongue, you can feel a little bit of that sort of red, fruity ester coming out of this one. There's maybe a little touch of brown sugar, but not too much. It's mainly roasted black malt that's forming the backbone of this beer, and that sort of milky chocolate. And then later on, as the flavour kind of mellows out, it does kind of morph into being a little bit more of a roasted kind of high cocoa chocolate flavour that you're getting from this one. The coconut flavour for me comes out quite early in this one, and then it sort of fades away over time and gives way to those roasty black malts that I was talking about and the darker chocolate elements to the beer. The hops are pretty much as you would expect. In the back corners of the palate, there's a nice earthiness there. I do suspect from the flavours that are coming out of this one that it's American hops that they've used in this one. And it's just the way the earthiness comes out, because it does have that bit of extra bitterness to it. I don't think you would get that same bitterness from English hops, and plus the fact you can always tell a little bit, the earthiness that you get from noble hops in Germany is a little bit sweet. The English one has a little bit of a more kind of herbal quality, like the Fugels and the Kent Goldings, whereas the American ones, it's just a little bit more in your face, if you like. It just has a little bit more of that kind of darker earthiness. As you come further forward along the sides of your tongue, you can feel that earthiness just spreading forward. Then it kind of morphs into a very light grassiness around the front curve of your tongue too. But it's a nicely done beer, this one. Just behind the front curve of the palate, of course, that's where you get that little oily bubble, where you get some of the kind of lighter, juicy, fruity esters, and there's just a little touch of a slightly kind of candied red fruity ester coming off of this one. I'm not really getting the tropical fruit that they were saying on the can. For me, it's more of a kind of slightly figgy, candied red fruit that's coming off of this one. Yeah, I mean, for me, it reminds me a little bit of some of the flavours that you get from the likes of the gummy bears in Haribo Star Mix, or even the, probably more the little heart-shaped sweets, to be honest, the little red part of the heart-shaped sweets in Haribo Star Mix. That's what it reminds me of. It does have a little bit of a more figgy element to it. It's not quite as strong a flavour as those candied Haribos, if you like. But it just has a little bit of that. As you progress further and further into the aftertaste, it's the earthiness that's sitting there, and the roasted black malts, and a little bit of that chocolate, and there's a small element of coconut kind of mixed into that kind of chocolatey flavour as well. But I mean, overall, it's a really nice beer, this one. I'd love to try it with the cask conditioning. It would be nice to try it on tap, actually, and just see how it comes out, because it's, as it is in the can, it's got a really nice, smooth mouthfeel. So I think to make it even smoother than that, if you just want to be greedy, to be honest, to make it even smoother than that would really, really suit this beer. But in terms of flavour, you can't fault this one at all. The coconut, I would say, for a coconut chocolate porter, the coconut is a little bit more on the subtle side of things from what you would expect, but it is there. It comes in at the start and then it just mellows out. But this porter, for me, leans a little bit more towards the kind of roasty, toasty, bitter side of things, rather than being a sweeter porter, which you can sometimes get. But it suits it, and as I say, I think cask conditioning would really suit this beer, but it's got that lovely mouthfeel to it. So the mouthfeel of this one, I would say, yeah, mouthfeel on this one, definitely mid-bodied. Carbonation's very, very smooth. It's a little bit oily in its mouthfeel, to be honest with you, actually. It definitely is quite an oily mouthfeel, this one. The water, as I say, has that sort of minerally quality to it, which seems to be a kind of trend with these steam machine beers, and personally I quite like that. That was one thing I always enjoyed about the Icelandic beers, and some of the beers that you get from Norway and Sweden and even Finland as well tend to have a little bit of that. Some of the Scottish beers and whiskies and stuff like that have it as well. I do appreciate that when you've got a nice water quality to the beers, and you can pick that up in this one. Malt base, I would say, leans a little bit more towards the roasty, toasty side of things. There's a little bit of sweetness in there, a nice bit of hoppy bitterness too, and there's just a little touch of a red fruity character as well. But overall, it's another really nice beer. I can see why the camera guys would like this one. It's definitely a beer that kind of falls into the middle of being a kind of traditional real ale, if you like, and kind of getting into the American side of things. But at 7.3%, it probably leans a little bit more towards the American styles. But it's a really nice beer, and you know, for me, for Steam Machine, it gets another thumbs up. Is it quite as good as the Treacle Toffee Stout? Not quite sure about that one. The Treacle Toffee Stout for me is a pretty special beer, but it does kind of show you how good these guys are at producing the dark beers. They've done a nice job with this one, and I guess in some ways you can consider this a slightly lower ABV alternative to that Treacle Toffee Stout, but a lovely beer, and I'm glad that I got to try this one. So I think we'll sign off there. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Steam Machine, of course, as well. I'm sure I'll be reviewing more from them in the near future. I do still have my video of the session that I'll release at some point in the near future. For you to see, that of course was filmed before these three ones that I've just done. But yeah, make sure you check out their beers if you're in the Durham area. Make sure you check out Market Hall Wines in Durham as well. This was where I got this beer, and they always give me some really good recommendations. But thank you once again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. Please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Check out my social media, but most importantly, follow your local craft breweries and have a go at some of the Steam Machine beers if you get the chance. Until the next time, it's Landry just now, and I will catch you guys very soon. The coconut chocolate porter, from Steam Machine Brewing Company in Newton Aycliffe, County Durham in England. Slanger just now.